Does anyone have a question? You would like?
Stuart, I have a question.
Yes.
My question is about guidance from spirit. For 2 weeks, my back has been worse, and I had an MRI Friday. But my guidance from spirit was to get the MRI and trust the medical. When I got it Friday, and they said it's worse and you need to have surgery, I felt like my guidance was true. And my question is, when asking for guidance from spirit, how can I trust that it's guidance from spirit and not my ego?
You know, Christine, the less of you that's involved in the asking for, the more you're going to be able to trust. If you're pitting your ego versus God, you're going to be you don't have a chance. You're going to create confusion out of something that's very pure. And I really believe, we need a state of nothingness in ourselves. We have to get rid of all those obstructions, our ideas, what we think are right or wrong. And then guidance comes. It comes to me every day of my life. And it comes because I don't interfere with it. I just listen and let it guide me. And I don't know what's right or wrong, in terms of, if you need to have an operation, then have an operation, that's guidance. I had an operation 2-3 years ago, and I needed to have it. And it was a higher energy saying, have an operation if you need an operation. So, we often interject our own ideas of what we think is right or wrong. And instead of listening to the subtleties of life and the subtleties of higher energy, and let it take us to the place where we have to go in order to get things fixed. Years ago when I lived in Texas, I did this healing work with this young girl. And I told her mother, I said, when you do deep spiritual practice, when you do deep healing, when you ask for a higher energy to guide you, I told her, it doesn't matter whether it's east or west or north or south, they will bring you to a place where the problem will get taken care of. And I'll never forget, look, I wasn't big into operations then, but when the doctors said they could operate, this was like a miracle of God that took place. Because a month or 2 months before, they said there's nothing we can do. This child is going to die in 3 days. And I told her mother, and I tell her, it's not east or west or my idea of how it should be done. The universe will provide exactly the means that are necessary in order to take care of problems. We have to listen, and we have to be smart enough about following the guidance. It doesn't mean you run to doctors and get, I have no great love for doctors and what they bring, and it's always a lot of pain, what doctors bring to people. But at the same time, when you're guided to a situation that is even something you don't like and don't want to do, you got to listen. And the only way to listen is you've got to be free of yourself. Because if you're all involved with your egos and opinions and what's right and wrong, and I mean, look, I had all these students that left the work because I asked them to get vaccinated to come to a retreat. I mean, it was unbelievable to me. And finally, I arrived at a place where you don't have to get vaccinated anymore. If you want to come here to where I live, just take a test before you come into my apartment. Whole thing changed. But meanwhile, these people have missed all, I'm not going to get vaccinated. I heard all this bullshit. I said, well, don't do it. And it just changed. A voice in me said, people can come, just have them take a test before they come to your apartment. No problem. Now I have people coming on Wednesdays and Saturdays. They all take a test I take a test before I let people come in here. And that'll change also. So what I'm saying is it's all bullshit, And if people need an excuse to interfere with real guidance, then they'll find an excuse. But the less there is of you and the deeper your state of nothingness is inside, the more profound the guidance can be. And I think therein lies the problem with most people. They know it's better. And if it goes against what's in their mind, then there's all this conflict and tension.
Thank you.
I mean, I remember lying on a gurney there waiting to go into the operating room. This is like 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And it was the day of Rudy Samadhi. And I'm lying there, and I told the doctors just before they put me under, I said, this is a very sacred day for me. Please do your job. I told them. It's really unbelievable. This was 6 doctors hovered around. I just looked at them all and I said, today is a very sacred day. And I'm just asking you all to do what you were trained to do and to do your job. They did their job.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget, I think I told you this, but it was so funny. I was lying in the hospital room, the recovery thing, and this doctor came and I said to him, the food really stinks in this place. and he and he looked at me, started to smile. He went downstairs to a coffee shop. He brought me tea and, all kinds of stuff. Brought me to eat. I laughed. I said, thank you. God guided me to tell the doctor the food stinks here, Brought me some really good food to eat,
Wow.
Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you.
Stuart, can you talk about working toward getting rid of fear around the heart chakra?
I can answer that in one word: gratitude. Gratitude. Deep, profound, unconditional gratitude for your life, for what exists in your life, for the fact that you breathe, you eat, you have people in your life, family members you love. Gratitude. You develop that gratitude in your heart and all of the tension will dissolve. Not totally, because nobody's perfect, but you will have a tool to get rid of those walls that surround the heart that keep people from truly being happy. Gratitude is the answer. Then the question is, yeah, I mean, I once said that to somebody, I have nothing to be grateful for. I said, you're a dead person. The miracle of life is around each and every one of us. Everything around us is sacred, and it simply depends upon how we see it. You know, the most boring, mundane things are sacred if we see the sacred nature of them. If we don't see it, they become boring and mundane, and they become ways of us defending ourselves against life and closing our hearts. Life itself is a miracle. I mean, I learned that from Rudy, and I've told you this many times. It was extraordinary to me to see a human being turn New York City into a temple. It was extraordinary. I never believed in all the years I was alive then that I could ever see anything like that. But the gratitude, the joy, the love, the deep connection and the service that he had, to God, the willingness to transform the world around him into something sacred. Just never mind the totality of it. A bit of it will open your heart. Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Michael. It's an important question, both your question and Christine, important question. Does anyone else have a question? I mean, it's certainly hard to believe that this insane world that we live in. I mean, you can't even read the media. I don't really read newspapers, but you go online and you read CNN and this one, and the stuff they write about, we're living in an insane asylum. And at the same time, through the use of deep spiritual practice and meditation, we can learn how to transform that insane asylum into joy and love, where it no longer afflicts us, where the people in our lives no longer afflict us. We can transform all of that into joy and love, and recognize that there's a magical, mysterious, wondrous thing called life, and it's around every single human being. And it just simply depends upon how we see it. You can take the most joyous spiritual thing and shit all over it. I remember when I had a gallery in Texas, never forget this, as long as I live, and I had all this Oriental art, and I had some really beautiful sculptures there, wonderful things. And these people came in and they were throwing holy water on my statues to take the devil out of a Kuan Yin or a Buddha. I mean, it was unbelievable. I was sitting with my mouth dropped. They were walking around throwing holy water to get, I had a statue, I'm telling you, today it's worth $1 million sitting in that gallery. Drop dead, was 5 foot high, seated Kuan Yin wood from the, Sung Dynasty. It was gorgeous, and they're throwing holy water on it to take the devil out of it. I mean, it was unbelievable. I probably got up and I said, get the fuck out of here. I told them, I'm going to call the police. And they all just ran out the door. It was unbelievable. So it just depends on how people see life. Take the sacred nature of life and turn it into shit. Or you can take the shit, the compost of life, and transform it into a spiritual life. It's what Rudy used to talk about all the time. Tension. Does anyone else have a question you would like to ask? Okay, I'll announce again that I'm taking a vacation. I need a vacation. So I'm taking a few days off. I won't have class tomorrow, Tuesday. There will be a class on Wednesday. And hopefully I'll see everybody. And God bless you all. Thank you. And, you know, as I say all the time, I'll repeat it again. You all are a teacher for me. Your presence here really helps me to grow and helps me to develop my spiritual life. I'm very grateful for it. So God bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in the middle of the week. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Stuart.
you, Stuart. Thank you so much.
Yeah.